Hello and welcome to this video presentation on Windows 95. My name is Patrick and I'm going to be your guide through this amazing new world. Now Windows 95 is the latest and greatest operating system from Microsoft, and every computer has to have an operating system to work. Microsoft has gone one step farther in that it's combined the operating system with a Windows program. And what that means to us, the users, is that our computers are going to be faster, more efficient, and easier to use. So with that, let's just jump right into the program and find out what it's all about. When you first start your computer after installing Windows 95, this is the screen that you're going to see. Now if the image that you see on your TV appears a little bit blurry right now, don't worry. It's not your VCR, it's not your TV set, and it's certainly not the videotape. It's just very difficult to get an image from a computer screen onto a videotape. You can adjust down the distortion that you see by just adjusting down the sharpness and the contrast on your TV set. Also, during this video, we are going to be zooming in on certain areas so you can really get a good look at what we're doing. And you may experience a little flicker at that point, but don't worry, that's just us zooming in. Now, if you'll notice, you'll see a little white arrow moving around on your screen right now, and that arrow is my mouse pointer. All computers today come with handheld hardware that's called the mouse, and you use that mouse kind of like a virtual finger. You can use it to point at different things, and that's what I'm using right now. I'm going to be using this mouse to point at all the things that we're talking about, and I'm going to describe them all in detail. So if you just follow along, listen to what I'm saying, and watch that mouse pointer, you're not going to have any problems in learning Windows 95. Okay. Now again, this is the window that we see when we first start up our computers after installing Windows 95. And there's a lot of stuff going on here. But the first thing that we have to do to learn how to use Windows 95 is we have to become proficient with our mouse. The mouse, again, is the little white arrow that you see moving around. And there are 5 different things that we have to be able to do with the mouse. Don't worry, they're very easy to do. The first thing is very simple, and it's simply called pointing at something. Let's say I wanted to have you point at this little picture right up here in the corner. When you point with a mouse, it's not like this. You actually place the mouse pointer over the item that you're talking about. So at this point, I am pointing at the little picture of the computer in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. That's the first thing that we have to do, and that's very easy to do. The next thing that we have to learn how to do is called a click. And to do a click, you first start with a point. Let's say that I told you to come down here and click on this button that says Next Tip. Well, the first thing you have to do is point at it, so I place my mouse pointer over it, and then I have to push and release my left mouse button. All mice come with a right and a left button, and the left button is normally the one that's used the most. So if I tell you to click on something like this button, I mean place your mouse pointer over it, push down and release the left mouse button quickly. And that's a click. It's just as easy as that. Now the third thing that we need to do is a little bit more difficult than that, but it's still very easy. It's just called a double click. And that's the same as a single click with the left mouse button, except that you're going to be pushing and releasing that button twice in a row real quickly. So if I told you to come up and double click on this little picture of a computer up here, you'd place your mouse pointer over it, and you push and release the left mouse button twice real quickly. This causes things to happen, obviously, as you can see. Now, we've got this new window right here, and I don't want you to worry about this right now. We're going to come back to it, and we're going to get into it in detail, but we've still got a little bit more to learn about the mouse. I'm going to go ahead and illustrate the double click again by clicking on this little tiny picture of a computer right here. I place my mouse pointer over it, and then I just double click left mouse button. And I cause things to happen again. Okay, now the fourth thing that we have to learn is probably the hardest thing, and that's called a drag. It's just like a click, except you don't release the left mouse button. So if I wanted to drag this picture of a computer here, I place my mouse pointer over it, I click down on the left mouse button, and then I can just drag it anywhere around on my computer screen that I want. Then when you're done dragging, you just release that left mouse button, and you cause things to happen. Let's go ahead and see that done again. I'm going to move this back up to where it was before. I click on it with the left mouse button, but I hold it down, and I'm just going to push it back on up here to the top so I can put it back where it was before. It's as simple as that. Now the last thing that we have to learn how to do with the mouse is use the right mouse button. And we can do a right click and we can also do a right drag. They're done just the same as we did with the left mouse button, except we use the right mouse button. So if I want you to do a right click, I'll simply say click the right button. Okay, now let's talk about what we see on the screen here. The first thing that we see taking up the middle of the screen is this big box that says Welcome to Windows 95. And this is called a dialog box. Windows uses dialog boxes quite a bit, so it's good to get used to them. We use dialog boxes whenever the computer wants to give us information or get information from us. In this case, they are giving us tips on how we can better use Windows 95. Now you can go through and see all the different tips they have in here simply by clicking on the next tip button, just like we did before. And this causes it to change so that we can see the different tips that they have for us. Now, every time you start your computer, this welcome box is going to show up. The reason being is if you look down here at the bottom, you can see that this says, show this welcome screen next time you start Windows. And right next to it in this little white box, there's a check mark. Well, this is like a toggle switch. And if I place my mouse pointer over it and I click on it, you can see that the little check mark inside of it left. That means that this is no longer active. And if I shut off my computer now and turn it back on, this welcome screen won't be there. If I go ahead and click in that little box again, the check mark shows up again, and so now I know that this will show up the next time I start Windows. Now you should go ahead and read these tips. They'll be very helpful to you. Right now I'm going to go ahead and close this window and get it out of our way so we can really see what we've got going on our screen here. Now there's two ways that I can do this. You're going to notice right down here at the bottom there's a button that says Close on it. If I click on this, it will close the Welcome to Windows 95 dialog box. But there's another way to do it as well, and I want to show you that really quickly. Up here in the very upper right-hand corner, you're going to notice a little button that's got an X on it. Well, this is nothing more than the exact same thing this is. It's a close button. And by clicking on it, I will close this window. I want you to remember this button because you're going to be seeing it a lot in Windows 95. I place my mouse pointer over it, I click, and it disappears. Okay, now let's talk about our screen here. First of all, you need to know if you're going to be working with computers that this is not a screen. It's a desktop, and you should think of it as your desktop at work or at home. You can have different files open here and different things going on, little projects, and if you think about your computer screen that way, it will really help you work with Windows. Now let's talk about what we have on our desktop, starting in the upper left-hand corner here. Okay, the first thing we see up here is a little picture of a computer, and it says My Computer underneath it. Now, anytime you see a little picture representation of something on your computer screen, it's called an icon. And icons run rampant through Windows 95, so you really need to get used to them. All they do is just stand for something else. Now, the My Computer here is a place that we can go to view all of our computer contents and files and manage those files. We're going to see this illustrated in a little bit. Now normally, right below this, if you're hooked up to a network, say you're using your computer at work, you're going to see two of these little computers linked together, and then right underneath it, it will say Network Neighborhood. And you use this to view the different contents in your network so that you can go from different applications and so on. My computer is not hooked up to a network, so I don't have that icon here, and I just want you to be aware of it. Right below that, we have what's known as the recycle bin. And this is a temporary storage area for deleted files. When we delete a file in Microsoft Word or whatever we're working with, it automatically comes to the recycle bin. It's like a second chance. Then if we delete something by mistake, all we have to do is come to the recycle bin and we can get them out. Now these two little icons below the recycle bin are just notes that are given to us by Microsoft about using Windows 95. They're going to come with your computer and you can go ahead and read them. All you have to do is just place your mouse pointer over it and double click and you are able to read what they have in there. I'm not going to go into them now because we have more important things to do, but I do suggest that you read them. Okay, now at the bottom left-hand corner we have something that's very important in Windows 95. This is the Start button. And you'd notice that when I point at it, we get a little label above it that says click here to begin. Well, we're going to find out what that's all about in just a little while. And the Start button is located on the taskbar. The taskbar runs the full length of our desktop at the bottom, and we're going to be using our taskbar for a lot of different things. The taskbar and the Start button are used to start programs, open files, change settings, get help, and more. The first thing that we're going to start learning about right now is the taskbar. The taskbar is one of the most important new features that we find in Windows 95. Again, it runs the full length of the bottom of our desktop here, and it's this. From here, we are going to be able to start programs and do a whole world of different things. Now, if you'll notice over here in the left-hand corner here, we've got a little button, and it's called the Program Manager. The Program Manager is from Windows 3.1, the old Windows programs. I'm sure all the old Windows users remember it. And to keep us from all having culture shock, Microsoft put it back in here so that we could, again, see our old program groups and work with them. Now we're going to learn how to use this, so if you're new to Windows, don't worry. We're going to find out how to use it right now. To start up the Program Manager, all you do is click on this button, and it starts it up. Now this is the Program Manager, and this is a window that's been opened inside of our actual desktop. It's called the Program Manager. Up here we have the title bar. Now all of the things that we see in this window are going to be pretty generic to all Windows applications. So if we learn them right now, it's going to save us a lot of time later on. Again, the first thing we have right up here at the top is the title bar. And you can tell that this is the Program Manager because that's what it says in the title bar. To the left of the title bar, we have what's known as a control box. It's this little icon right here. Now it hides a pull-down menu, and all you have to do to see that pull-down menu is click on it, just like I did. Now a pull-down menu gives us a list of different commands. These particular commands are commands that we can use to actually affect this window itself. We can move it around on our screen, we can size it, make it larger or smaller. We can minimize it, which just means to put it back on the taskbar down at the bottom. And we can also maximize it, which means to make it as large as the entire screen itself. Now I'm going to leave this pull-down menu here for just a few seconds because I want you to see something. Let's look at the right side of the title bar here. The first button we see on the right here, it just has a little line along the bottom of it. This is the Minimize button. By clicking on this, I do the exact same thing as if I chose this command right here. And again, that means to put it back onto the taskbar. We'll see that a little bit later. The box right next to it, or the button right next to it, with a box on it, this is the Maximize button. And this does exactly the same as the Maximize command here. It makes this window take up our whole desktop. So if we're just working with this, that's what we'd want to do. Again, here we see the Close button. Now you remember this from the dialog box at the beginning. And this does the exact same thing as the Close command here. Now, pull-down menus are generic, and they have some very common features. First of all, if you decide you're not going to use any of the commands in a pull-down menu, all you have to do is place your mouse pointer outside of it anywhere, click with the left mouse button, and the pull-down menu gets put away. Now let's talk about some of the things that we can do to this window here. First of all, in the pull-down menu, we saw that we could move in size. Well, we can also do that without using the pull-down menu. To move a window around on your desktop is easy. All you have to do is place your mouse pointer in the title bar anywhere. You click and hold down, and then you just drag. And as you can see, I'm just moving the outline of my window around. This is how we can move, and we can move it anywhere doing this. When you've got it moved, you just release the left mouse button, and it moves right where you wanted it. So that's the way that you can manually move your windows around. Now we can also size this window without using the pull-down menu. If we place our mouse pointer on any of the borders around it, it turns into a little double-sided arrow. And this means that we can now size our window. Again, we're going to drag using the left mouse button. We click and hold it down, and I can move this in. I can move it out, making it a lot larger. I can do whatever I want. Now here's a shortcut. If we take our mouse pointer and we place it right on one of the corners, like down here, it turns into a diagonal double-sided arrow. Now we can size two of the sides at the same time. Click and hold down that left mouse button, and we can drag it in or we can drag it out. Now, what do you think will happen if we move it into about here? No longer are we going to be able to see everything that's in the window. Well, let's see what Windows 95 does to help us with that. Okay, as you can see, we definitely can't see everything in the window anymore, but we've got some new tools at the bottom down here and along the right side. These are called scroll bars. The one running up and down is the vertical scroll bar. The one running across the bottom, obviously, is a horizontal scroll bar. Now, we can scroll or move up and down in this window to see the information that is hidden down here, just by clicking on the down arrow right here. It just moves us on down. Now, this little bar that you see right here is the indicator. It tells us whether we're at the top of the window or at the bottom of the window. We can also scroll using this, and it's just a drag. We click with the left mouse button, hold it down, and we can just drag it right back up to the top. It's just as easy as that. And then the horizontal scroll bar down here works exactly the same way. Okay, now let's go ahead and size this back out one more time so that we can see the whole thing again. Now, what do you think is going to happen to those scroll bars? If you guessed they would disappear, you were certainly right. Okay, now let's see how we can start programs from this program manager. Now, I know this doesn't look like the program manager that we had in Windows, in the older versions of Windows, but it works the exact same way. These are all of our program groups. In other words, all of our programs in our computer are grouped under these headings. So if we wanted to see the programs in the accessory one right here, all we have to do is click on this button. Now, you know what this button is. It's the same as this one right here. It's the restore button, or excuse me, the maximize button. It just makes that as large as the whole screen. And now this is definitely looking like our old program manager program groups from the old Windows versions. Let's go ahead and use our scroll bar here to just scroll up and see some of the different ones we have. Now, we can actually start programs from here, and it's very easy to do. All we have to do is just double click on any of the programs here to start them up. So I double click on the calculator here, and we start up the calculator program. If I double click on the calendar here, we start up the calendar. Now, when a window gets in front of another one like this, we can get back to the original one simply by clicking anywhere in it. And that's going to bring it right back. I'm just going to go ahead and open up a few of these, and then we're going to jump back and look at the taskbar and see how it's changed. Let's go ahead and start up this card file. And then I'm going to come back to the program manager here by clicking in it. And then let's just go ahead and start these notes right here. Okay, that'll work. Now, let's just zoom back out and have a look at what's happened to the taskbar. Okay, now as you can see down here in the taskbar, all of the programs that I've just opened got a little button on the taskbar, and we're going to be using the taskbar to switch between the programs. As you notice, when I point at them, the actual full name comes up so that we can see what they are. Now, if you want to switch between programs, there's two ways you can do it. Again, you can just click on the one that you want to use, or you can just come down here to the bottom and click on the one, and it will bring it right up to the front for you, like I'm doing now. Now, as you can see, our desktop is getting a little bit cluttered here, probably like your desk at work. So we're going to learn a real nifty trick right now to help us organize what we're working with here. And this is the first time we're going to use the right mouse button. If you want to arrange the way these windows are applied here in your desktop, place your mouse pointer anywhere on the taskbar, click the right mouse button, and as you see, we've got this little pull-down menu full of choices or commands that we can use. Now, if we cascade these menus, watch what happens. I'm just going to click here. As you can see, it just lines them all up for us really neatly so that we can go ahead and use them. And then we can just go to the next one by clicking on the title bars. That's one way we can do it. Now, another thing that we can do is, let's say we want to close down all these windows. Well, let's right-click on the taskbar again, and let's just come to this little command right here that's called Minimize All Windows. When we click on this, watch what happens. As you can see, it just closes up all of our windows, and they're all put back down into the taskbar. Now, we can start them again just by clicking on the buttons down here in the taskbar, and it just lifts them all up for us. Now, as you can see, this taskbar is getting just a little bit kind of filled up. And if we opened any more programs, there wouldn't be enough room for them. Well, we can affect or actually change the way the taskbar looks and the way that it gives the information to us. To do this is real easy. You simply place your mouse pointer right over the edge of the taskbar, and when you do, it turns into a little double-sided arrow. Now I'm going to use the drag function. I click and I drag, and I can make my taskbar as large as I want. I can also, by clicking anywhere in it with the left mouse button and dragging, I can move it to the side, I can move it to the top, or I can move it right back down to the bottom, just by doing that exact same thing. Okay, now here's something you may want to note. Let's say that you're working with a program that you've got it maximized, so it takes up the whole screen. Well, this taskbar is still going to be here. If you need to hide the taskbar, it's very easy to do. All you have to do is place your mouse pointer right over the edge again, how we did to size it. You click and hold down the left mouse button, and this time you just push it down. And I'm just going to push it down until it's completely out of view. Now the taskbar is still here. You can see the little gray running along the bottom here. If we go ahead and click on it once our mouse pointer turns into a double-sided arrow, we can just pull it back up to standard size. Okay, that's how you use the taskbar, and it makes working with our different applications very easy. We can work with a lot of different things at the same time, really get the most out of our computers. Now I'm going to go ahead and close up some of these windows here. I'm going to show you a shortcut to close them from right down here. If you click on one of the buttons with the right mouse button, we get a pull-down menu. At the very bottom here, we can choose Close, and it closes it for us. So that's just a little shortcut you can remember. I'm going to close them all up. Now the last thing that we're going to talk about on the taskbar is this little indicator area right down here in the lower right-hand corner. This tells us the time and gives us status on our computer, or how our computer is running. First of all, watch what happens when I point at the time. I'm just going to point at it, I'm not clicking. But what it does, it gives me the day, the date, and the year. Now if I double click on this, we can actually set the time. Watch what happens when we double click. Okay, let's zoom back out here. And we've got this date and time properties box. Now this is where we set the date and we set the time right over here. It's very easy to do, very straightforward. If I wanted to change the time here, I would just highlight the 2. If I wanted to change the date, I would just click on it. Now look up here at the top. We're going to see little tabs here. This tab says date and time, and this one says time zone. That means that behind this date and time information, we've got information on time zones. And if I click on the time zone tab, it brings that information up. So now I can choose my time zone. And I can also have Windows automatically adjust the clock for daylight savings. Now here's something that's very interesting. Let me go ahead and click back here to date and time. Look at this little icon button right here. It's got a little question mark on it. Watch what happens when I click on it with my left mouse button. As you can see, I've got this little question mark that's following my mouse pointer around. Now if I point at anything and I click, I get a little help description of what it is. I know this is hard to see, but it just says it displays the time in the format that your computer is currently using. Now once you get done using a dialog box like this, you can go ahead and cancel here or cancel here. And once you do, it just takes it away. Now the last thing that we're going to see in the taskbar here is this little icon picture that kind of looks like a speaker. That's what it's supposed to look like. And this controls the sound coming out of your computer. If you just click on this once, it's going to give us some special command or a special box right here that we can use to affect the sound. By clicking on this little button right here and dragging, I can make my volume higher or lower, or I can put it back right where it was. Or if I'm just sick and tired of the way my computer sounds, I can just click right here in the mute area and shut it right off. See that? No sound. I'm going to leave the sound on because I happen to like it. And once you're done working with this, just click anywhere outside of it. Well, that's the taskbar. We've gone over quite a few things in it. And the next thing that we're going to go into is probably the most important thing in Windows 95, and it is called the Start button. The Start button is one of the most important tools in Windows 95. From it, we can start programs, get into documents, do all kinds of things. Now, the Start button, again, is down here on the left side of the taskbar. And when you click on it just once, it opens up this pull-down menu. Now let's go ahead and pan back so we can have a look at the whole thing here. First of all, let's talk about what we see up here at the top. These are actual programs, like this is to format floppy disks. Right here we've got a demonstration, a paintbrush program. This is a testing application, and right below that we have a Word program, or a word processing program. Now all of these are like shortcuts. They're programs that we can start from right here, and they come built into your Windows 95 program, so you're going to see these as well. We will come back to these a little bit later on, but for right now we're going to talk about the area below this little line here. Now the first thing that we see right here is programs. If we can just pan up there a little bit. Okay, there we go. Programs. And this is just like the program manager used to be for us. When we point at it, all of our program groups appear for us over here to the right-hand side. Below that we've got documents, and this gives us recently used documents. Now let's go ahead and start with programs. So we're going to zoom back out and just see what these program groups are like. Now these are all the program groups that we actually had in our program manager. And when we point at the program groups, all of the programs that are available in there are shown to us to the right-hand side again. And all of our program groups are in here. Now we're going to learn how to make these program groups and really work with them later. For now, let's just see how you start a program. Let's say we wanted to start a program in Accessories, and we come over here and we want to start the card file. All you do is find the one you want following these menus, then you just click your left mouse button, starts the program. As you'll notice, we automatically get the little button on our taskbar so that we can go ahead and use that to do all different kinds of things. And you can see that card file is untitled here. Okay, let's just go ahead and close this window down. Now I'm going to do this using the shortcut. Remember, we can use this button here to close it, or we can click on this with the right mouse button and then just choose Close from the very bottom of this pull-down menu here. Okay, let's go back into the Start button here, and we're going to go back up to Programs to see one more thing before we go on. Now if you'll look in the program groups here down towards the bottom, we've got some that are actually not program groups. The first one we have here is the MS-DOS prompt. And this is for all of us that grew up with DOS that aren't ready to get rid of it yet. So we're going to go into this a little bit later and see how it's used. Right below that, we've got the Program Manager. We've already gone over that. Below that, we've got the Microsoft Network. And you can't see it all here, but believe me, that's what it says. And this is an actual online service that's provided through Microsoft. It allows us to get onto the Internet. And we'll see this illustrated in a little while as well. The final thing we have down here at the bottom is the Windows Explorer. And this is just like the File Manager used to be in the old Windows versions. And we're going to go over this in a little while later as well. Okay, right now let's go on to the next thing. We've covered the programs. Let's come up here and go into Documents. Now this is a way that we can open documents that we've currently used and actually view them without having to start the programs. What this program or this little sub-program does is it keeps track of the last 5 programs or the last 5 documents that you've worked with, and it puts them here in this little pull-down menu so that we can choose the ones that we want. Now this is sort of a shortcut because it allows you to actually get into the document without having to start the program. If I wanted to start this one that's called Test right here, I just click on it once, and that's going to start up the program. Now it takes a little while to start them doing it this way because Windows has to go from that document, find the program that it was started in, and then put the document up. Now this is the document that we were just talking about, the one that's called Test. And I did it in that little program called Paint, and we talked about that earlier. And I was just trying it out and playing with it. But see how easy it was for me to find it and bring it up? Now we're going to find out how to take care of that document setting later. So we're going to come back to that. Right now I'm just going to go ahead and close this window by clicking on the Close button here. And we're just going to come right back down to the Start button, and we're going to go to the very next thing to work with. Okay, the next thing that we have, and one of the most important things in this Start button, is the settings. And this is how we control how Windows affects our computer, what it does with the information, and how it really looks. The first thing that we're going to go into is the printers right here. So if you needed to set up new printers, this is where you would come. You click on it once, and it brings up the printer's wizard. Now this printers area here is going to be where we actually add new printers to our computer, and it configures them for us. It's never been easier to add a new printer. All that you do is you come up to this area right here that says Add Printer, and you double click on it, and that is going to bring up the box called Print Wizards. And this is it right here. Add a printer wizard. Now let me move this over here in the center here a little bit, and then maybe we can zoom in on it and get a closer view. Okay, now this is the printer wizard, and this wizard will help us install printers quickly and easily. I'm going to move it up just a little bit here. All we have to do from this window is just click on Next, and that will take us to the next one. The next thing that we have to do is tell the printer wizard what kind of printer we're adding. So you can come down here and find the kind of printer that you have, the manufacturer, and then over in this area you're going to choose the specific printer. Once you've done that, you come down and you click on Next, and that takes us to the next window, and we have to tell the computer which port it's going to. Now I'm not going to go ahead and finish this because I'm not adding a new printer to my computer, but I'm sure that you can see how easy this would be. This is especially useful if you're on a network and you're constantly changing from one printer to another. So I just wanted you to be aware of it. Now if you decide you're not going to add any of these new printers, all you have to do is come down and click on the Cancel button. But adding a printer has never been easier than this. Remember, when you double click on Add Printer here, it starts up the Add Printer Wizard. And a wizard is nothing more than a subprogram that's going to help you do what you want to do. We're going to see more of those in just a few seconds. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this dialog box, and there's another way that we can do this. We can click on the Cancel here, or if I double click on the control box right here, remember this is called a control box, I can cause it to close in the same fashion. Okay, let's go back down to the Start button here. We're going to go back into Settings, and now we are going to really get into configuring our computers. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into the control panel here. To start it up, you just click on it once, and it brings up that window for us. Now this is called the control panel, and there's a number of different things that we can do in here. The first thing that we can do is add new hardware. It's never been easier to add new hardware to our computers. Windows 95 will take care of it for us. If you're going to, all you do is double click on the icon, and can you guess what that's going to bring up? If you guessed that it's going to bring up the Add New Hardware wizard, you're very correct. Again, the first thing that we have to do is just come down and click on the Next button, and then it's going to ask us what we're going to be installing. It will also automatically detect installed hardware. Now I'm not installing any new hardware now, but this is very important, and as the computers get more and more advanced and we're adding more and more things to them, you're going to find yourself using this a lot more. So I just wanted you to be aware that it's here. Remember, let's go ahead and cancel this. It's in Control Panel, in Settings, and it's called Add New Hardware. Now, if you've ever had problems adding a program to your computer, you're going to really love this. It's the next one we have here, and it's called Add and Remove Programs. When I double click on this, it's going to bring up, obviously, the Add and Remove Program Wizard. Now let's zoom back on it so we can see the whole thing. And once we do that, we will start working. Okay, now this is a real big one, as you can see, and we've got the tabs up here that we talked about before. The first thing that we have here is the Install and Uninstall. And this is to install a new program from floppy disk or CD-ROM. All you have to do is come and click on Install. It's going to ask you all of the questions, and you just go through and take care of it. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because I don't want to get into it right now. Okay, but let's look at what the different tabs we have up here. One of these says Windows Setup. Now when I click on Windows Setup, let's see what we have. This is going to bring about the Windows Setup tab, and we're going to find a lot of interesting things that we can do here. Now, a lot of the things that come with Windows do not automatically get loaded. They're just kind of stored in your computer. And here you can go through and check off different things, like this disk tool, that you want to add onto your computer. It tells you how much memory it's going to take, and all then you have to do is just come down and click on OK. I'm not going to be adding any of these right now because we're not doing that right now. Now let's jump back out, and we're going to find out what that third tab is all about. The third tab is called Startup Disk, and when we click on it, we get just this little picture right here. And all it's asking us to do is if we want to create a startup disk. Now when you first install Windows 95, it's going to make you create a startup disk. And what this does is it will take the place of Windows 95 so that you can get into your computer if Windows 95 ever has any problems with it. I've already created my startup disk. I don't need to do this. But if you lose your startup disk, you can do it from right here. It's very easy. You just click on Create Disk and follow the instructions. That's all there is to it. So this is all of the things that we had to add or remove new programs. Now let's go jump back out here. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this one. And the next thing that we're going to get into is the display. And this is the last thing we're going to really get into in this window. Now you can go through and change a lot of different things, like your modem settings, how your keyboard works. You can even change the way your mouse works and make it have a little tail or whatever you want. We're not going to get into those right now. I want you to play with those and discover them by yourself. But it's from the control panel here that you affect the way they work. The last thing that we're going to get into, and we're going to spend a little while here, is called the display. And this is actually setting up our desktop, the area back here. Again, to start it, I just double click it, and that's going to bring up the display dialog box right here. Now let's zoom back out on this so we can see the whole thing here. And as you can see, the first thing that we've got right here is background. And this is how we affect the actual background area here. Now this little picture right here is just giving us an illustration of what our computer background is going to look like, or our desktop. And what we're looking at right now is called wallpaper in this little area here. And you see down here it says setup. Well, if you want to take that one out, you can put in any of these other ones, and I want you to go ahead and just try them and see which ones you like. Remember, this is a scroll bar here, and that means there's more information above and below that you can't see. Let's go up here and choose none for just a second. If you don't have any wallpaper, then what you're going to do is be working with patterns. And we've got patterns right here. And there's all different kinds. We can even edit these patterns. If you click on the Edit Pattern button, and let me move this window over for us just a little bit, you can actually change the way the pattern is laid out. And you get to see it reflected right here. If you want, you can rename it. And then when you're done, you just click on Done, or if you just want, you can just cancel it so that it doesn't actually change that particular pattern. So that's really easy to do. Now right here, we're being told that we didn't save this pattern, and that if I close it now, I'm going to lose the changes that I made. Well, that's exactly what I want to do. I don't want to keep those changes. We were just doing illustration. So I'm going to go ahead and click on No. Now that's how you change the background of your desktop. Let's go in and check out what some more of these tabs are. The next one that we see is the screensaver here. And when we click on it, it's going to bring up the screensaver window for us. It takes a little while, so just bear with me. A screensaver is something that protects your computer screen or your terminal or your monitor from getting burned out. If we were to leave this screen on our monitor for a long, long time, it could actually burn the picture into the monitor, and then we would see like a little ghost of it all the time. So Windows 95 has built-in screensavers. Now if you look down here, it says wait 5 minutes, and we can affect this. We can make it higher or lower by using these little arrows right here. And if we don't do anything with our computer for 5 minutes, or however long you decide in this box, then the screensaver comes up. And it's just a little tiny sub-program that keeps everything moving on your terminal so that you don't burn it into it. Now we can change the screensavers right here. If we can zoom back out so we can see this whole thing, there we go. Right now we're looking at what's called flying windows, and next to this we have a little down arrow. If you click on the down arrow, you see a list of the different screensavers that we have, and you can go through and check them out. There's a lot of different ones, and when you choose one like Mystify here, if you wait, it will give you a little demonstration of it, and this is what it will look like. Now over here we've got a little button that says Preview, and if we click on it, it's going to give us a preview of what that screensaver is. So this is the one that's called Mystify. Now I'm going to go ahead and just set it back on the flying windows. That's the default one, and default means that's the one that is automatically in when you get it. You can also put a password on it, and you can change the settings for it. You can go ahead and feel free to go through and try out these different things at will. But that's what the screensaver is about. Now let's go on to the next tab, and it's called Appearance. Now when you come into the Appearance tab, you can actually change the color scheme, the way the colors are laid out for your Windows program. Now they've got a couple of built-in right here under this field that's called Scheme. And if you click on the down arrow here, you see they've got a whole bunch of them, and you can choose any one that you want. This one's called Teal. Let's try that. Well, that doesn't look very exciting. Let's go back in here and try Stars and Stripes. Let's see what that looks like. Well, that looks a little bit better, but I'm going to leave it the way it is. Now you can also do these individually. If you look down here under Item and you click on that, these are all of the different things that you can choose colors for. You choose colors from this thing right here. If you click on the down arrow, it will show you all the different colors that we have available. And then when you get done, you save it as, and it will ask you for the name of the scheme that you want to save it under. Go ahead and play with this. You can't hurt your computer here. You can just change the colors. It's very easy to do. Okay, let's go up and do the last tab. It's called Settings. When you click on Settings, and again, it's going to take a little while to start up so that we can see it, you can change a few different things for your windows. You can change the number of colors, and you can also change the desktop area. Right now it's set at 640 pixels by 480, and you can just change it more. And when you do that, you can see it just shrinks the screen on here. It makes the pixels a little bit smaller. Go ahead and play with this. Again, it won't affect the way your computer runs. It's just your personal preference. Okay, that's all that we have to go over in the display properties. Again, just real quickly, background is the actual back of the desk here. Screensaver, as you remember, is just the thing that keeps our screen from getting burned in here. Appearance, oops, I'm getting a little bit slow on us here. Hold on one second. But the appearance just allows us to change the colors or the color scheme in the way the windows are laid out. And then settings is to change the number of colors in your palette and the desktop area. So you can go in and set this up the way that you want, and that's what it's here for. Okay, when you're done, if you made changes that you want to keep, you click on OK. If you've made changes that you don't want to keep, which is definitely what I've done at this point, all you have to do is just click on Cancel, and it takes it away for us. Now again, that's all we're going to go over in the control panel here. We've gone over the Add New Hardware, the programs, and the display. We already know how to set the date and time. We learned a shortcut for that earlier. Again, this is where you change your mouse. You can make it move faster or slower, and you can also change the buttons. So if you're left-handed, you can make the right button the one that you use the most. Now that's all we're going to go into here, so I'm going to go ahead and close this down. I'm just going to click on the Cancel button here. That takes it away. And now we're going to go back down into the Start button, and we're going to finish looking at the settings that we were using. Let's go up to Settings. We've done the control panel and the printers. The last one we have to do is the taskbar, and this is one I think that you're going to really like. I'm going to go ahead and click on it to start it up, and that's going to bring up this taskbar properties window. Now let's go ahead and zoom back out so we can see the whole thing here. There we are. And you see we've got two things here. We've got taskbar options, and the next tab is Start Menu Programs. Now there's a couple of different things we can do from taskbar options here. Right here you'll see that we have Always on Top, and we're talking about the taskbar right here, remember. This is a little preview area. So let's take this check mark out of this box. You remember how to do that. It's just by clicking on it with the left mouse button. And as you can see, now the windows will actually come in front of the taskbar. If you click on that again, it's just going to show you that that's going to cover the whole screen. Also down here we've got an auto hide, and this just does the exact same as when I pulled the taskbar down using my mouse pointer. We can show small icons in the Start menu, and just to see what that looks like, it just makes them smaller. Or you can have the big ones. And then you've also got the show clock here. Now let's go into the Start Menu program, because this is where we're going to really start customizing the way our programs work. When we click on that tab, we've got a couple of things that we can do here. The first thing that we can do is customize our start menu. We can add or remove programs or items to it simply by using these buttons. Let's say that we want to add a program to the start menu. Well, all you have to do is click on Add, and then it's going to ask you for the command line. Now, the command line is simply telling the computer where this particular program or this item is stored. If you don't know where it's stored, you can click on the Browse button right here. Now, when you click on the Browse button, it's going to bring up this Browse dialog box. And all of these little files here stand for directories in my computer. Now, if I wanted a program out of my MS Office directory or file, I would double-click it, and then you notice up here we're now looking in the MS Office directory. Well, I want to put a program called PowerPoint onto the Start button. So I'm going to go ahead and double-click on this little file. And now if you look up here, we're in PowerPoint. Well, this is the PowerPoint here. So I click on it just once to select it, and it tells us the file name is here. Now the computer knows where that program is located. When I click on Open, it automatically puts the command line in for me. I don't even have to learn it. Once you've got it in, you come down, you click on Next, and we're asked where we want to put it. Now, this is the way our programs are laid out. Now, right now, it's automatically got programs selected, and this is going to add it to the Start menu. But I want to show you something really quickly that I think you'll really like. If you click down using the scroll bar here, and you come down, you're going to find one file here that's called Startup. If you select this one instead and put it in here, every time you start your Windows program, that program will automatically start up. So if you've got one program that you use constantly, just select this one and it will start every time you open Windows. Well, I'm not using PowerPoint that much, so I'm going to put it back into Programs, which was selected at first. And this is just going to put it into the taskbar for me here, or excuse me, into the Start button area. We come down and we click on Next. It asks us what's the name for the file we want. PowerPoint is fine for me, so I click on Finish. And that's all there is to it. Now let's go back out to a full screen here, and I want to show you something. We come down and we click on the Start button. Now we come up, and we're going to have to zoom back out so we can see Programs. And if you look right down here, you're going to see PowerPoint has been added. And it's just as easy as that to put it in. Okay, let's see how easy it is to take it out. And you can do this to remove any of these things that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and click outside here to get rid of these pull-down menus. And as you'll notice, right next to the Add button, we've got the Remove button. When we click on it, it brings us right back into that thing where we see all of the different things that are listed in that in the Start button. And if we just scroll on down, there's PowerPoint right there. So we click on it, and then we just come and click on Remove, and it's removed for us. It's just as simple as that. Now once you're done, just go ahead and click on the Cancel button here, and that's all you have to do. Now if we go back into the Start button, and we go back into the Programs, you'll see the program PowerPoint has been removed. So it just works that way. It's very simple to do. Okay, let's zoom back out again. And the last thing we're going to look at in this dialog box here is the Document menu. Now, as I said, the Document menu will store about 5 of the last documents that you worked with. And if they were just real quick things that you never plan to go back to, then what you need to do is come down and click on Clear, and it will remove them all for you. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, it's just as easy as that. Now we've seen everything in the taskbar properties that we need to. So I'm going to go ahead and close this box, and I just want to show you one last thing in the Start button here, and let's go up to the Documents. Now see what it says here? Empty, because we emptied them. Okay, so we've gone over Programs, we've gone over Documents, we've gone over Settings. Now we're going to go into Find. Now Find is just an advanced feature to help you find files or folders. And to start it up, all you do is click right here. That's going to start it up for us. Now, in this area, you're going to put the name or the location of that file. If you notice up here, we've also got little tabs. We can find it by the date it was last modified. So if you don't remember the name of it, but you remember you did it last Tuesday, you can put in the date, or you can find it using the Advanced tab, which is just how long it is and what it details. Now in here, you're going to type in the name of the thing that you want to find. So if I want to find my file named test, I just type in test from my keyboard. I come over here and I click on Find Now. Now in a lot of cases this takes a while, these finds, simply because the computer is going to go through and search every single directory that we have. And as it does, it puts those things in here for us that it finds. Then we have to go through and try to choose the one that we really want. Now as soon as it gets done here, I'm going to show you something that's pretty fancy about this little area right here. And it's finishing up right about now. Okay, now it's found all of these files, and 8 files had the word test in the name. Now if you'll notice up here in this little field, it's got the word name on it, in folder here, size, and then type, and so on. Now these little buttons at the top will actually allow you to sort the finds that it found for you. If we click on name, it's going to sort them by the name. If you click on folder, it sorts them by the folder. And if you click on size, it's going to sort them by the size. Now let's scoot back over here so we can find the one that we were talking about. And let's just use this arrow here to go on down and find which one we're looking for. Okay, now once you've found the one that you want, all you have to do is simply double click on it, and that's going to start up that program and that file. Oops, I'm sorry, you have to double click on the name. That was a mistake on my part. But this is going to bring up the file. So this is a real useful tool, especially if you're not sure where those things are being stored. Because then if you just look over here, you can see the file that it's being stored in. So here's that test that we talked about before. I'm just going to go ahead and close it because we're not going to use it. And that's how you use the search. It's very easy to use, but it's a very powerful tool. And in case you forget where things are stored, this is going to be one of your best friends. Okay, let's go up and close it, and that's how you use the find. Now let's go back down to the Start button. I'm going to click on it. We've done Find. The next thing we have to learn is Help. Now almost all Windows applications come with help programs built in, but a lot of people don't use them. So we're going to spend a little time learning how to use this help function here. To start it, you just click on it. Now we're going to zoom back out, and we're going to have a look at what this help topic window is all about. Now the first thing we see up here is that there are 3 tabs: Contents, Index, and Find. Contents, is the one that's selected right now. And this is just like a book, the table of contents. Now you'll see down here we've got little book icons, and they have little phrases after them, like introducing Windows, how to, tips and tricks, and so on. To see what's inside of each one of these little books, just double click on the word, and that will open the book, as you can see here, and show us all the different things that we can get into. Then if we want to know how to print, we double click on that, and it shows us all of the different things that we can do. So if we want to know how to print and set up our computers, we would just come and double click on this, and that's going to open that file for us and tell us exactly how to do it. Now sometimes using this contents window can be a little bit difficult, but let me show you another way. If we go back up to the top here, the next one is Index. And when we click on it, it opens up the Index window here. And all we have to do here is type in the word or phrase that we're looking for, and I want you to watch what happens down here. Now I'm just going to type in the word merge and find out if there's any help that covers the word merge in here. So I'm just going to type M, and look what happens when I do. This area automatically drops down to the M's. Now when I type in E, it goes to the M-E, R, and that's all I have to put in. It's already found it for me. So that's the way the index works. I use the index a lot. I think that you're going to find it very useful. Now the last thing that we have, the last tab here, is the Find tab. And when we click on it, it's going to bring up the Find window or dialog box right here. Now, Find is a very special thing that's built into Windows. But before you can use it, you have to actually install it. What this does is it goes through all of the help files, and these look like those little books we saw earlier, and it makes a listing of all of the words or key topics that are available in each one. And then you can go through and search for words or phrases. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and set this up right now. It does take quite a while because, again, they do have to go through and check every word in your help files. So I'm just going to cancel this. But I want you to be aware of it. And if you do need this function, it's here for you. Don't be worried about setting it up. It will really help you out. So this is how you use help. And I really want you to be aware of it. Now, we're back in the contents window here. If you're done looking at these books, to put them away, all you do is double-click on them again. And that just puts it back to where it was before. So that's help. Don't be afraid to use the help. It will really help you out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this window now. And we're going to go back down to the Start button. We're almost done learning the Start button now. Okay, after help, the last thing that we see here before shutdown is Run. And this is just like the Run that we used to see in the Program Manager in the old Windows. When we click on it, it just brings up this Run window. And it tells us to type in the name of a program, folder, or document, and Windows will open it for us. The only thing about this is that you've got to type in that darn command line again. So here's the Browse button, and just remember you can use this. Now this is good if you're like starting something from another drive, like your A drive or your CD-ROM drive, because then you can just type in the drive name here and it will go to it. So you can feel free to use this, and again, it just works like the Run did in the old Windows programs. So let's go ahead and cancel this. If I can find my mouse pointer here. There we are. Okay, and let's go back into the Start button. Okay, the last thing we see down here is the shutdown. Now, I'm sure that most of you have heard that it's very bad to shut down your computer when programs are actually running. You can lose the programs, you can damage them, and you can lose files. So this is built in to shut down our computers so that we can safely shut them down. When we click on it, let's zoom back out so we can see what we have here. We've got the Shut Down Windows dialog box. Now it says here, are you sure you want to shut down the computer? And this one is selected. You can tell because it's got a little dot in the white circle. We can also restart the computer, and that means it shuts off the Windows program and then automatically starts it back up. And we can also restart the computer in MS-DOS mode. Again, that's for those of us that aren't ready to let go of MS-DOS. I don't want to shut down our computer yet. We're not done learning about Windows 95. So I'm just going to come down and I'm going to click on No, and we're ready to go on. Now the next thing that we're going to get into is adding and deleting submenus or the program groups to the program menu. Let's go into this. Now let's not zoom on this one right now because we want to see the whole thing. Again, out here we have all of our program groups. They came from our old Windows programs. Now you may not want to use these anymore. You may want to change them around, and it's fairly easy to do. Let me show you how to do it. First of all, you don't even have to have the Start button pushed. Let's go ahead and cancel that. What we're going to do is we're going to use that right mouse button again. Let's take our mouse pointer down and place it over the Start button, and then we click on the right mouse button. That brings up this little tiny drop-down list, and we're going to go into Open. Now when we click on Open, it is going to open up this window that's called the Start menu. And this tells us all of the different things that we have at the top of our Start menu. You remember we saw the floppy format, the paint, the WordPad, and so on. Now all we do to add a program folder is we double-click on the programs here. And that opens up the Programs window. And this tells us all of those different programs that we have in there. Now you need to take your mouse pointer up to the File pull-down menu right here. Click on it to bring up that pull-down menu. Then you're going to point at New with your mouse pointer. You're going to come over and you're going to select Folder, and I click on it. And right down here you see we've got our new folder. Now it's labeled New Folder right now, but you can see that's highlighted or it's kind of blued out. That means that I can type right over it. So if I type in a name that I want, like Patrick, and then I press Enter, I now have that new folder loaded into my Start menu. Now watch what happens when I double click on it. it opens up this little window that's called Patrick. Let me move it down here a little bit. And this, as you can see, is empty. That's because I haven't put any programs into it. So let's go ahead and put a program into it. Again, you go up to File, click on File, go to New, but this time you choose Shortcut. When you click on the shortcut, it's going to bring up a window that's going to ask us to create a shortcut. Here we've got that darn command line again, but luckily we've got the Browse button built in. So I'm going to click on the Browse button, and this is going to bring up that way that we can actually go in and physically pick out what we want. Now you remember where I had PowerPoint at. It was in MS Office, so I double click on that, and you see we go into the MS Office file. PowerPoint was right here, double click on it. I see my icon right here for PowerPoint. I select it, I come down, I click on Open. It asks, is this the one that you want? It certainly is. Let's click on Next. It asks us to give it a name again, or we can just leave the name the way we want it, and it's already got it in there for me, so I'm going to leave it that way. You go down to the bottom of this window again, and you click on the Finish button. That's going to take care of it for us. Okay, now let's look what's happened to my file. Actually, up here, let's move up to the top a little bit. You can see that in the Patrick folder, PowerPoint has now been added. Well, let's go ahead and look in the Start menu and see what's going on. Click on Start. We come to Programs. And if you look right here, we've got one called Patrick, and inside of it is PowerPoint. It's just that easy to add these to this program groups right here. So if you're worried about losing the program manager from the old Windows applications, don't. It's still very easy to do this. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to close all these windows down, just like we learned how to before. And now we're going to learn how to delete program groups. First of all, you come back down to the Start button, and you're going to use that right mouse button again. We click the right one, and it brings up this little pull-down menu. Click on Open again, and it's going to give us this window for the Start menu. You go back into the Programs, double-click. You choose the one you no longer want by selecting it, and you only click on it once to select it. So I click on Patrick, and then all I do is press the Delete key on my keyboard, and I'm asked, are you sure you want to remove this folder and move all of its contents to the recycle bin? Yes, I do. So I click on that, and if we go back down here and have a look, we're going to see that Patrick has actually been removed. So let's go ahead and close these up, and I'm going to go back down to the Start button, and we go back up into the Programs, and if we look over here, Patrick has been removed. It's just that easy, and you can remove any of these that you want. Say you remove one by mistake. Well, we're going to learn how to save it in just a little bit. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to talk about in the Start button is the DOS prompt, the Microsoft Network, and then we're going to eventually get into the Windows Explorer. Let's start with the DOS prompt. This again is for all of those of us who've worked with DOS before and we're just not ready to let it go. To get into the DOS prompt, all you do is click on the word, and it's going to start a window for us that looks just like DOS. You remember this? That very boring black screen with the white letters? It's amazing that some of us can't let it go. Well, it works just like DOS used to. If we type in dir for a directory listing and press Enter, it's going to give us that directory listing just like we used to get it. And it's just listing every file, every directory that's in my computer. So it does take a while. Now let's jump back out again, and I'm going to show you another thing. If you want to have the whole DOS window take up your desktop, it's very easy to do. You press Alternate, the alternate key on your keyboard, and the Enter key at the same time, and it makes it as big as your whole screen. To get it back down to normal size, alternate and enter again. It's like a toggle switch. Now there's one button up here that I want to show you, one icon button, and it's right here. And if we point at it, we get a little box that comes out that says Properties. Let's click on it and see what this means. Okay, let's zoom back out. This is giving us all of the properties for our DOS. And as you can see, this is for the program, and it tells us the command line and the working directory and so on. If we go into fonts, we can change the fonts in the way that it's laid out. Now the next thing that we have, the next tab is memory. And I don't want you, if you're a beginner, to start playing with this. As you can see, they're all set to auto. That's because Windows 95 knows how these should be set. If we go into the screen one, it just allows us to change the screen. So we could change it to a full screen automatically right here, and we could take away the toolbars and so on. Finally is the miscellaneous tab, and it just allows us to change things like the idle sensitivity, the background, and so on. So these are all things that you can look into. And again, these just affect the window here, the DOS prompt. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this, and I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. I just wanted you to know it's here and how to use it. So we can cancel that. Now the very last thing that we're going to look at, I'm going to cancel this start menu as well. The very last thing that we're going to look at in the start button is, it's again in the programs, but we can stay right here because what we want to look at is the Microsoft Network. When we click this to start it, that's going to start the Microsoft Network. Now what this is a way to get online, or in other words, it's a way to utilize the internet, which is fast becoming the easiest way to communicate information and ideas. And Microsoft is just making it very easy for us to get on. Now you have to have a modem to make this work. And if you do, and you want to start it, all you do is click on OK. And then it's going to ask us what our phone number is. Well, I'm not hooked up to a modem right now, but I wanted to show you how this works. And then all you have to do is come down to the bottom and click on OK, and it's going to get you right into the Microsoft Network so that you can get online and start finding out what the Internet's all about. Very nice of them to build it in for us. Well, I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that so that we can go, let's cancel this one too, because the next thing that we're going to work with is called the Windows Explorer, and it's a very important tool in Windows 95. Now it seems like whenever somebody's been using their computer for a while, we tend to accumulate lots and lots of files that sometimes don't mean anything to us that we don't even need. Well, we're going to learn how to deal with that right now, and it's called Windows Explorer. To activate the Windows Explorer, there's a couple of ways to do it. One way is to come down, click on the Start button, come up to Programs, and then we come over and we go all the way down here, and you'll see right at the bottom we've got Windows Explorer. To start it, we just click on it, and that's going to start up the Windows Explorer. Now this is the Windows Explorer. Let's jump in a little bit closer so we can really get a good look at it. As you can see, everything in our computer is laid out here, and it's laid out in a hierarchy style. In other words, files, directories, subdirectories, and so on. Now this is where we can manage our files. If we wanted to see all of the files that were located, say, in this demo file subdirectory here, we just click on it and it lists them all for us right here. If we want to go back to the C drive, just click on it and it's going to list everything that's in there for us. Now, if you're still used to working with DOS, you're going to probably want to know the path or the command line. You remember, we talked about that quite a few times before. To see the command lines, you have to come up to the View pull-down menu here, click on it, and then you come down to Options, click on it. And then we come in here. Now, if we look over here, there we go, we can see Display the full MS-DOS path in the title bar. So if we click on this, and then we click on Apply, and then OK, we get the path right up here. So if I choose something like this one, it's going to tell us exactly how to get to it, that it's in the C directory. Or if we go into another directory like MS Office here, it's going to tell us that as well. And then if we open another one, it's going to just list the path for us so we don't have any problems finding it. Now that's in View. If you want to turn it off, go back up to View, come back down to Options, and then you come back in and just turn off that toggle. And then you're not going to have any problems. Let's zoom out again so that we can apply this, and OK. So now we're just back down to where we were before. Now these directories work like the directories that we used in the Help menu. You remember that if they were little books, well, these are just little files. If they have a plus next to them, that means that there are subdirectories inside of it like MS Office here. And when I clicked on it, it showed those for me. If I click on it again, it's going to just close them up for me so that we just see what's in MS Office. Now let's learn how to actually manage our files here. Let's go into this MS Office, and I'm just going to open it up again. And I'm going to go down to PowerPoint, because we've been using it quite a bit already. Now this is all the files that are saved for us in PowerPoint. Let's say that I wanted to take this one right here that's called Red Hill, and I wanted to move it into another file. Well, the way that we're going to do this is using the right mouse button. We could come up here to File, click on it, and use the copy command, but then we have to tell it where we're copying it to. Let me show you a shortcut that's a lot easier. If we just click on this with the right mouse button, and then we start dragging it, as you can see, we can drag it around. And now I can take it, and I can just take it right over here to this subdirectory called Demo File and drop it right in there. Now, I'm asked, do I want to move it here? Which means it will take it out of this directory and leave it only in this directory. Or I can copy it here, and then it will just put a photocopy of it right in here. Let's do that. Okay, now we see that it's being copied over. Let's go ahead and open this file. And I think that we're going to find that one of these is called Red Hill right here. That's the one we just moved. Moving files is just as easy as that. Now, once you get a lot of files built up into your computer, you're going to need to start deleting them, or else they're going to take up disk space that you could be using for other things. To delete is just so easy. Once you've found the file that you want, you just click on it, and then you just press the delete key on your keyboard. And it asks, do you want to delete this or actually send it to the recycle bin? Yes, we sure do. And it's gone. It's just as easy as that. Now let me show you something else. Let's go back down here into PowerPoint again. And we'll just open that up. Let's say that you wanted to move 3 files or more than 1 file. To do that is very easy, but it's a little bit more complicated than the things we've been doing before. First of all, you're going to use your left mouse button to select them by clicking on them. Let's say I wanted to move all 3 of these. First thing I have to do is push down on the Control key on my keyboard. Okay? Now once I've done that, I can start selecting these things, and watch what happens. I select the first one. I've still got the Control key down. Select the second one. I've now selected 2. Select the third one. I've got them all. Now I can release that Control key. I click down on my right mouse button with my mouse pointer anywhere on these, and then I can drag them all. And I can do the exact same thing I did before. I could drop them into the demo file if I wanted to. Well, I think that you get the idea. It's very easy to do, and this is the best way to manage your files. So I'm just going to cancel this out because we're not going to move them, and we're just going to go on now. Now let's talk about some of the other things that we see here. Let's talk about the tools that we have in the toolbar here. First of all, right now we're looking at the contents of PowerPoint, and you can see that right here. To get up to the directory that holds PowerPoint, just push this little icon with the up arrow on it. And that takes us up to the next one, which was MS Office. That's where PowerPoint is stored. We can also cut, copy, and paste from here. We can undo our last action, which is very good in case we deleted something or we did something we didn't need to do. Now these buttons over here just change the way that our format is laid out for us here. If you can go through and just click them and choose the ones that you like best. And it just changes the way they're laid out. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the default one, which is this one right here, so that we can continue to work with it. Okay, now I'm going to show you something really special. I'm going to go into the PowerPoint again, because we've used it quite a bit, and we're going to see what's in there. Now let's go out, zoom out, so we can see the whole thing that we've got here. Okay. And we're looking down, and we find the PowerPoint icon right here. This actually represents the program. Now I'm going to show you a shortcut that I think you're really going to like. I'm going to click on it and hold down my left mouse button. And then I'm going to drag this guy over to the Start button, and I'm going to drop him in the Start button right here. I'm just going to release my mouse button when I'm right over the Start button. And you can see it says PowerPoint. I release it. Now let's go ahead and zoom back out. We click on this, and look what's happened up here. We now have PowerPoint stored right here for us. It's just as easy as that to put a shortcut in. All you have to do is just drag that icon over there. One of the great things about Windows 95, you do a lot of dragging, and Windows 95 understands what it's all about. Now once you've got something up here, if you want to delete it, it's a little bit harder to do, but let me show you how before we go on. First of all, I'm going to get rid of this menu here. I'm going to click anywhere outside of it. I'm going to come back down to the Start button, and we're going to do the right mouse button again. Remember that? It gives us the little pull-down menu. We go into Open, click on it, and it opens up our window for us. Now, if we look down here, you're going to see PowerPoint. This is the one I just added to it. Wasn't here before when we looked at it. We want to get rid of it. Click on it to select it, and then simply press the Delete key on your keyboard and tell this dialog box that yes, you want to send it to the recycle bin. That's all there is to it. Now it's gone. Okay, so let's close this. Now that's one of the easiest ways to add a shortcut to the Start button here. Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to get into here is the Tools pull down here, because there's some very important stuff here that we can use. Let's go ahead and click on it. Now one thing that we see here is Find, and this Find works just exactly the same way as the Find in the Start button. I just want you to be aware of it. So if you're using this Explorer here and trying to find something, use this Find, because it will find it right here and it will take you right to it. Okay, now let's go on. I'm going to click on that to get rid of it. I'm going to click on the C drive here to select it, and I'm going to show you something really special. Okay, now the C drive is selected. Now you see this one button right here. It's called Properties. And when we click on it, it's going to open up the Properties window for our drive. Let's zoom back out here and let me move it down here a little bit so we can see it better. Okay, now this just tells us information about our drive, the label, how much of it is being used and how much is free. This is really good if you don't know how much room you have to put in a new program. We've got two tabs here. One is General, one is Tools. Now let's click on the Tools, and I want you to pay attention to this part. These are very important tools in the Explorer. The first one is one that you can use anytime, and it's called Error Checking Status. When we click on this, Windows 95 just runs a little diagnostic program to find out if there's anything wrong with this drive. The one below it is the backup status, and this is used to back up your files onto floppy disks so that if something happened to your computer, you'd still have all your information. Now this does take a while. It's not something you have to do every day, but once you've started to add more and more stuff into your computer, you definitely want to back it up. The last thing we have down here is the defragmenter, and you can use this at any time as well. After you've been putting information and taking information off your hard drive for a while, it tends to get fragmented. It'll have some data here and some data there when it should be together. By clicking on this, you shove it all back together, and it just makes your hard drive run better. Okay, so let's get out of that. And that is how you use the Explorer. As you can see, it's pretty easy to use, but it can be a little bit more difficult. Notice the last pull down we have here, Help. This will just get us in to help talking just about the Explorer. So these will help you out if you're having problems getting around or anything like that. Okay, so that's the Explorer. It's really easy to use, but it just takes a little patience and persistence to get used to it. So we've gone over that. Let's go ahead and close it. And we're just going to close this Properties box too. And the next thing that we're going to get into is the My Computer right up here at the top. Now I know you're all wondering what this My Computer is up here. Well, let's find out what it is. To start it up, all you have to do is double click on it, and that brings it up. Now this is the My Computer window here, and all My Computer does is act just like the Windows Explorer, except instead of looking at a hierarchy, remember where it was all listed down like this, we get to see them as files. So if we want to see what's in our C drive here, we double click on it, and that brings up our C drive. And as you can see, they're just all in little files instead of being directories and subdirectories. Let's go into MS Office. Double click it. Brings up the MS Office window. Go into PowerPoint. This all should be coming very familiar to you. Now here's something that you're going to really like. I'm going to come down here, and we've worked with PowerPoint quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and I'm going to hold down the mouse pointer because I'm going to drag it. Now watch what I can do with this. I'm going to just drag it off this area, and I'm going to take it over here. I'm going to put it right below this icon. Watch what happens when I release the button. Okay, what I've done is I've just added an icon down here, just like the other ones we had up here. like the My Computer or the recycle bin. Now all I have to do is double click on this and I can start PowerPoint from right here. This is the easiest way to create shortcuts. Just drag the icon onto the desktop. If you decide you don't want them, take your mouse pointer and point at it, click the right mouse button, and just come on down and click on delete. Then we're going to be asked up here, so let's zoom back out. Are you sure you want to send the shortcut PowerPoint to the recycle bin? Yes, we sure are. So as you can see, this My Computer works just like the other things that we've used, like the Windows Explorer, except it's laid out in a different format. So it's really up to you which one you want to work with. Let's go ahead and close all these up. And the very last thing we're going to get into in this video is the recycle bin. Okay, you've been using the Windows Explorer to get rid of all those files that you don't need anymore, to clean up your disk, give you more disk space, to put in that new program you want. Well, when you look, your disk is still the exact same amount full. There's a reason for that, and it's right over here. It's called the recycle bin. Let's go ahead and double click on it to open it. Now, anytime you delete anything in Windows 95, it comes into the recycle bin, and this is kind of like a second chance. Everything that I've deleted is in here, so I've got no more room on my disk. Well, what we have to do is empty this. But let's say you put in something here by mistake. Let's see, out of one of the million PowerPoints here I have, I wanted to keep one of them. All I've got to do is just click on it and drag it off, and it's out of there. Now it says a shortcut over here, and it's been recycled for us right there. Now, to delete all of this stuff is just as easy as coming up to the File pull down here, click on it, and just empty the recycle bin. Okay, do you want to delete these 21 items? Yes, we do. So we click on that, they're all gone, and that's all there is to it. We've cleaned out our disk. Now, I want to show you the easiest way to put something into the recycle bin. I want to get rid of all of these icons down here. They're bugging me. So I'm just going to grab them and drag them up to the recycle bin, and that is just simply throwing them away. It's just saying, I don't want them anymore. Well, that's it for this video presentation. We've learned a lot about Windows 95, but I'm sure you can see there's more for you to learn. The only way that you can really master a program like this is through patience and persistence. Feel free to use this tape as a reference guide, fast forwarding and rewinding to parts that you need to go over. My name is Patrick Van Slyke, and I thank you very much for watching this video presentation on Windows 95.